What if the monsters we're so afraid of aren't just things that go bump in the night? What if they're actually philosophers with a pretty terrifying message for us? Today, we're diving into a collection of monologues, all from their perspective. We're going to give a voice to the creatures we thought we knew.
Right from the jump, the very first line, we're told this isn't really about them. These figures, these nightmares brought to life, they claim they're nothing more than a mirror. And that forces us to ask a really simple but really profound question. What exactly are they reflecting? So to really get what's coming next, you've got to shift your whole perspective. We're not about to listen to some mythical beasts just ramble on. No, we're about to hear from philosophers who just happen to exist in monstrous forms. And they're offering a unique and, let's be honest, a really disturbing critique of our world. And that right there, that sets the stage for a pretty powerful indictment. These creatures aren't just monsters, they are commentators, they are witnesses, and maybe most importantly, they are accusers. They've been watching our world, and trust me, they are ready to deliver their verdict. This brings us to their first, and maybe their most shocking, accusation. Say, when these monsters look for the real, ultimate source of cruelty in the world, they don't find it in some fiery underworld or some dark, spooky forest. They find it in us. And to kick off this really unsettling argument, the source calls up a voice we would normally associate with evil itself, a demon. Now that's a deliberate choice, right? It forces us to listen to a perspective that we've been conditioned our whole lives to just immediately dismiss. And there it is, a direct challenge from the supposed source of all evil. The demon is basically asking, how could we possibly be the origin of everything vile when humans are what it calls the singularity of it all? The one species that just actively destroys its own home and torches its own future. Now, to build on that idea, the perspective shifts to another really powerful archetype, the werewolf. I mean, this is the very symbol of primal, uncontrollable rage, a creature that supposedly loses all reason to its inner beast. Or, so we think. So the werewolf starts by just leaning right into its terrifying identity. It fully accepts its role as nightmares made flesh, the embodiment of a fury that is so pure, so wild, it just cannot be contained. This is its nature. But then, right after owning its monstrous nature, it completely flips our perception on its head. The werewolf argues that its own obvious, primal rage is nothing, absolutely nothing, compared to the vile things done in reality by creatures that look perfectly normal. The really chilling part? The most dangerous beast is the one that doesn't need fangs or claws. And this just brings the irony into razor-sharp focus, isn't it? We create these figures to embody evil, but from their point of view, they look at us and see something so much worse. We're forced to confront this deep hypocrisy, the one staring right back at us from that mirror. Okay, so from here, the argument gets even bigger. The monster's focus shifts away from individual human cruelty to the very systems we build, our societies, our power structures. And their argument is that these systems don't prevent cruelty, they amplify it on a truly terrifying scale. The next voice we hear belongs to this brutish monster, a creature you'd expect to just be a mindless thug. But instead of some roar, it offers this devastatingly sharp critique of human sociology. From this point of view, human society isn't some forced for good or order. It's something inherently malevolent. It's described as an active, invisible agreement, basically a criminal conspiracy waged against anyone who's vulnerable. And that is its scathing verdict. The very idea of human society, and especially its institutions like justice, are just dismissed as a joke. This monster claims the entire system is built on a kind of poison, what it calls a sociological venom. And just to hammer this point home, we hear from the scavenger, a creature whose whole identity is literally defined by its fearsome fangs and its viciousness. The comparison here is just so stark. The scavenger looks at its own fangs, these tools of raw, primal violence, and just declares them nothing compared to the organized, systemic cruelty of society. It argues that this sociological venom is a kind of insanity that's way more destructive than any single monster's attack could ever be. And now the argument reaches its truly terrifying philosophical peak. The focus zooms way out, moving beyond just humanity and society to pass judgment on the fundamental nature of existence itself. And what follows is a bleak, nihilistic verdict. The voice chosen to deliver this final, crushing verdict on all of being isn't a demon or a beast. It's something much more ethereal, and maybe because of that, even more chilling: the Lime ghost. The ghost's verdict is just absolute. Life itself is reframed, not as some gift, but as a squalid mistake. From this perspective, existence is just this horrible aberration in the universe, and it's defined only by its endless capacity for misery and tragedy. So after condemning life itself, what's left for hope? Well, it's just dismissed completely. In this worldview, hope isn't a virtue, it's a delusion, a totally useless concept in a universe that is fundamentally cruel. Once you're alive, there is simply no escape. This brings us to the final voice in this whole crescendo, a ghost who offers the only logical conclusion you can draw from this line of reasoning. And this is the final, chilling takeaway from the monster's philosophy. If life is nothing but suffering, and hope is just an illusion, what's left? Only one thing: oblivion. In this view, the end of existence isn't a terror to be feared, it's the ultimate comfort to be sought. So, we have journeyed through the entire monster worldview, their accusation against humanity, their condemnation of our society, and their final verdict on existence itself. And now, after all of that, the argument comes full circle. It turns from the philosophical to the deeply, deeply personal. And so we end on this single provocative question. It brings us right back to that opening quote about the monster being but a mirror. After hearing their philosophy, their accusations, their pain, when you look into that mirror, what do you see staring back?